Guys, you won't believe it, Blizzard messed up again. World of Warcraft Midnight, the newest expansion, is set to answer a lot of concerns the player base has had for over a decade. Genuinely, it looks like one of the best expansions they've announced in the longest time, to where its biggest problem is the fact they can announce it for crap. It's shockingly incompetent, just the way this expansion was announced and information conveyed to the player base. Panels that aren't streamed live and you have to catch up after the fact, or being filled in by freaking TikToks of all things. There's a lot to talk about. We're gonna get a tinfoil hat out. Hello, everybody. I am Jmulls, and let's get into it.
Call upon you now.
So what happened? Well, they announced World of Warcraft Midnight at Gamescom. Ordinarily, they would announce an expansion at their own dedicated show, BlizzCon, but they're not doing it this year, so they have elected to announce it at Gamescom. It's not unprecedented, they've done it before. Legion's a famous example of this. And the Legion announcement was hype as hell. So what is it about this go-around at Gamescom that is producing so much controversy and so much disdain and creating a lukewarm reception to this expansion that by all means, and in my humble opinion, looks like one of the best expansions they've announced in the longest time. It's a failure to communicate in a timely manner and in an engaging way the key features and elements of the expansion to the player base at large, instead of people that are already at Gamescom at these live presentations. Because a lot of these live presentations, one, didn't happen the day of the actual announcement for the cinematic and the gameplay trailer. They either happened on a website with a wall of text, or a couple days later at live panels that were not streamed live, by the way, that were uploaded to YouTube after the fact. So if you wanted to engage with the expansion as that content was being announced, you were stuck with following people on Twitter to get scattered screenshots and accounts of what was happening at the panel, instead of what they normally do, which is just stream all of this live. And for some of the panels and presentations, either the audio balancing was god-awful and the music was way too loud, or I think they even had to take one of them offline and re-upload it later due to technical issues. It's been a swath of just mess-ups and miscommunications, like incorrectly identifying what one of the zones is. For a lot of people, one of the most exciting moments of a World of Warcraft expansion is when the thing is announced, because everything feels so fresh and new. We're excited, we're waiting with bated breath for the news of what we are going to sink our teeth into in the coming months, what we're going to learn more about during alpha and beta, and then when the game actually comes out. And for Midnight in particular, it has a lot going for it aesthetically. People love elves. People love blood elves in particular when it comes to World of Warcraft. They're the most played race in the entire game, and it's not particularly close when you look at the data. People love light versus shadow, which is the entire theme of the expansion. People love Silvermoon. People love troll stuff. We have the Amani coming back. We're continuing the storyline from the War Within. Aesthetically, it's very much a modern-day Burning Crusade in terms of overall tone and feel in a lot of ways. That should be exciting, and it is exciting when you actually get the proper info for this expansion. But when it's relayed to the player base in such a manner as it has been over the last couple of days, arguably the last week, then it becomes incoherent and you don't retain the hype and the excitement that you initially build with the cinematic, which was really good, by the way, and it just kind of sizzles out. Now, granted, I don't think the announcement itself is going to make or break the success of the expansion. World of Warcraft is such a big IP, it is such a known entity that word of mouth, when the content actually starts to come out and roll out to the player base, will reign supreme in this regard. However, first impressions are important. You can drum up so much excitement in this initial reveal that they've just kind of floundered on. It's not fun, it's not exciting, it's not this big community event. It feels so closed off and corporate. And I don't even know if I necessarily blame Blizzard for this. Let's don our tinfoil hats, because personally, I'm side-eyeing Microsoft here.
Call upon you now.
Corporate greed is a tale as old as time itself. It's nothing new, it's nothing special, it is the status quo. And ever since the Activision Blizzard acquisition by Microsoft, at the end of it all, they're the ones in charge. They're the ones with the final say. And you may recall over the last while at this point, all the layoffs that Microsoft have done across Microsoft overall, but also at Blizzard, also at Activision. We've had waves and waves and waves of layoffs across the board. And is it necessarily fair to blame Microsoft for everything in regards to the Midnight announcement? I don't know. But would I be surprised if quite a number of those layoffs were for people that would have been in charge of organizing this announcement and could have done so in a far better and coherent way? I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Microsoft deemed those individuals, those positions, to be unneeded or unnecessary, redundant, whatever. And it also wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if, as a direct result of those layoffs, in that direct attempt to make shareholders happy by cutting costs, that it has led and snowballed to this cluster of fetid crap we call an announcement for what should, for all intents and purposes, be strictly a W for Blizzard. From top to bottom, I haven't identified a single thing that I'm actively against when it comes to Midnight. Everything across the board looks promising or interesting to me. Aesthetically, this has been the most interested I've been in World of Warcraft in the longest time. Story-wise, the same. Location-wise, I love the Blood Elf stuff. I love light versus darkness in World of Warcraft. Light versus the Void. It's so cool. The zones themselves look absolutely gorgeous. Silvermoon as a new hub for the expansion? What a great idea. Continuing the gameplay philosophy of Dragonflight and the War Within, but adding onto it with things like housing, which looks incredible, on top of a new system called Prey, and instead of like trying to reinvent the wheel with each expansion, just continue doing what's working. I really like it. I approve. To me, the decisions for Midnight and the additions to the formula are strictly W's so long as they nail the execution. It is a win when it comes to the story, it's a win when it comes to what seems to be the gameplay, when it comes to the aesthetics, when it comes to the music. Like, my god, go back and rewatch the cinematic and those trailers for the expansion. My god, the music's so freaking good. But when you can't convey any of this in a meaningful or engaging or even a direct way to the player base, they're not going to actively try to sift through all this information. They'll get it drip fed to them over time, but you lose out on that initial hype, and it's an unnecessary blemish on what shouldn't even be a blemish to begin with.
Call upon you now.
No.
Call upon you now.
We're going to double back in the corporate greed one because we really need to hammer this home. We don't have confirmation. I don't know if we know at all whether or not it was actually Microsoft's layouts that are a direct result, or at least if they had an effect on the announcement here at Gamescom. But I find it hard to believe that they didn't. And it's time and time and time again when it comes to news out of Microsoft, where everything they talk about and they announce just sounds abysmally boring, dull, derivative, out of touch, and makes me more pessimistic for their future. Which is a stark contrast to Blizzard right now, because I really like what they're doing with World of Warcraft. I think they're going in the right direction with a lot of things. They aren't perfect, do not get me wrong. Why we still timegate LFR and story mode, I do not know. Why we timegated a lot of the content in the War Within, I just don't know in general. I'm still trying to repress the memory of 11.1.7 storyline. It's like they aren't perfect, do not get me wrong, but they are on such a better trajectory compared to where they used to be. The story's more interesting, the content is more interesting, not always, but mostly, and they're doing things I never thought possible in World of Warcraft, like with the housing system. Legion Remix looks incredible. Why we're not doing the Mage Tower there is a baffling choice I will never understand or probably agree with them on, but the rest of it looks incredible. Midnight should have been the easiest expansion since Legion to market. It's essentially an amalgamation of what a lot of World of Warcraft players freaking like, all in one expansion, alongside much requested features like housing, like something new in the open world, iterating on the idea and the design of delves, like even having delves that happen in the open world that allow you to mount up in them. Yeah, they talked about that during one of the panels, but it was so poorly communicated because of everything going around Gamescom with them that I doubt if even most people know about that at all. Realistically, in the long term, this shouldn't be that important, but it is important for the short term right now, because this generates interest, this generates hype and excitement and investment in the product going forward. This is when you're supposed to sell people on the concept of what you are doing. For the longest time, we have been tired of World of Warcraft creating new systems and reinventing the wheel with each expansion only to throw them away like an empty burger wrapper at the end of the expansion, only to reintroduce an entire new system that's somewhat familiar to what came before but plays fundamentally different and is somehow 5 times as stupid. We've wanted them to get away from that for the longest time, and they have, with Dragonflight, then going into the War Within, and now with Midnight, iterating on things that people like and appreciate, things that work. And because their marketing is so piss poor for Midnight, you see so many people focus in on, oh, is this just a patch? We're not getting a class, we're getting a Demon Hunter spec. We're just getting the Haranir. Oh, we're getting 4 zones where one of them's kind of a repeat. You will always have negativity surrounding World of Warcraft. That's just the community, right? Like, you're going to always find it, especially in the modern day MMO scene. People will always find a way to twist anything to be a net negative while ignoring the good parts that are here. But there's a lot of good here, and Blizzard's doing a really bad job of communicating that. It creates bad public perception of what the content is and what it's all about, and that stuff can have a rippling and lasting effect. Because when people have the wrong idea of something, it is hard to replace that idea with the correct one.
Call upon you now.
So yeah, I think Midnight looks really good when you actually look at what the expansion is bringing. But my god, it feels like I'm going on a pirate expedition where I'm led by a map, a compass, and a dream in order to find this information out. Having panels over the course of multiple days. Having these panels not be live streamed and uploaded after the fact, and then still having tech issues. Poor communication. I don't even necessarily blame modern Blizzard for this. This feels like a side effect of decisions that were made that were out of their control, and they're just scrambling to make whatever they have work. And it's like, it's also entirely possible that maybe Gamescom, with what I could imagine being a tight schedule, this is all they could give. I still don't know why the panels wouldn't have been live streamed, but again, maybe it was out of their control, but there's a failure in management at some point in this entire flowchart. From point A of the conception of Midnight as an expansion to here with the announcement, somewhere along that line, somewhere in that path, someone higher up messed up. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again. Hopefully, the expansion's a banger because it's shaping up to be a banger. It looks solid, it looks interesting, it looks cool, and hopefully in a few months' time, no one even remembers this that much, or we just look back on it and giggle a little bit. But I think it's fair to say, if what we have seen over Gamescom was a direct result of those layoffs from Microsoft, would anyone really have been surprised? To me, it would just be another case of corporate greed striking again. But here's where you come in. I want you to leave a comment down below with your thoughts, your opinions on the announcement of Midnight. What are you looking forward to? What are you trepidatious about? Is there anything that particularly catches your eye or that you're curious about? I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and to hear your perspectives. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. And if you want to see more future coverage on World of Warcraft, you should leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, JMullsG. I have a Discord in the description down below. And if you actually want an overview of generally what we're getting in Midnight, you should check out this video right here for more. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.